All right, good morning, everyone. Thank you. My name is Migdalia Taveras, and I'm the Director of Business and Diversity Initiatives with the Department of Diversity and Civil Rights. It is my pleasure to welcome all the certified businesses that are here today in seek of an opportunity. I also would like to welcome all the speakers who have come from far, near and far, to share information on various MTA projects requiring the participation of our MWBE and SDVOB firms. You'll hear from them later in the program. The purpose of this event is to create a platform and assist our MWBEs and SDVOBs and MTA certified DBEs in seeking subcontracting opportunities, and to support our prime contractors in achieving their MWBE and SDVOB goals. I encourage everyone here today to connect and network with all of the prime contractors exhibiting here today. They're eager to meet you because they need you. So make sure that you introduce yourself and that you at least make, I'll make it challenging, 5 connections before you leave today. And follow up. Follow up is very important. So I have the privilege of introducing an individual who is dedicated and works tirelessly to ensure that firms like yours have a fair chance in leveraging opportunities in the state of New York and the city of New York. For most of his life, he has been an outspoken advocate for economic and social justice. He is the chair of the MWBE Leadership Summit. Join me in welcoming our Reverend Jacques DeGraff.
Good morning. We can do a little bit better than that. Good morning.
Good morning.
Now, somebody here is familiar with the expression that I'm about to present and tell you that it is not that. But this is not a shotgun wedding. See, if you come from a certain place or a certain age, you know what I'm talking about. But this is not a shotgun wedding. This is the dating game with a motive, with an incentive. And the incentive is embedded in words like economic development, wealth creation, expanding the pie. But would you stand for a minute? Because I want to get right down to it. I want you to follow the instructions of the speaker. That would be me. And we cut through this and we talk about profit and points and economic development, but I really want to cut right to the chase. The real reason that we're here, money. Okay. And you see how people get a little different when they talk about money? They put their head, some people put their heads down, but I want you to acknowledge within yourself that the reason that I'm here is for money. So when I count to 3, I'm going to ask everybody to say the word money. Is that all right? Or you're going to have to do better. Is that all right?
Yes.
1, 2, 3.
Money.
That was good for this side of the room and some of the folk in the back, but we're going to try that again, all right? 1, 2, 3.
Money.
All right, now, you can sit down now, but you feel better, don't you? We're being honest and candid right now because we're here at a moment in time. When you came into the lobby at 2 Broadway, you crossed out from mediocrity and competition into the winner's circle because this program is the nation's most successful program of participation. So that means if you're a winner, and you are because you're here, that you know that this is not a social program. Social programs are nice for social goals, but we're here to make money. And so we want you to know that as you connect with these firms, and the reason these firms are here is because they want to make money. And they want to make money with you because they understand that the days of waivers and we can't find any people, those days are over because you're here. And so we came today to gather to get ready to make some money, to make some serious 2023 money. Infrastructure is coming. The political stars are lined up for this moment. But understand this, it's only a moment. It ain't forever. A little while ago, it wasn't here. We don't know what's around the corner, but it's here right now. And so Migdalia said, we want you to meet 5 people. Here's what networking is not. I gave him my business card. I got a business card. Make a connection. Make a connection. And this is a business meeting, so guess what? You can do business with the person sitting next to you. They're in business. Maybe you can go on a joint venture or submit bids together, but whatever it is, figure it out. Now, I'm told that when people are courting, they meet somebody, they never saw them before, but sooner or later they figure out what their favorite color is, where they like to eat. They hustle. There's no guidebook, but they want something. Different people want different things. But they figure it out. Well, if you want to make some money in New York City, then you have to figure it out. You have to hustle. You have to get outside your zone of comfort to participate in the most successful program in the country. In addition to these firms, we want to congratulate all these firms that are participating today, because they understand that in order to make some money, they got to hook up with you. And the reason they have to do that is because of a program that's been created here, and we have to give credit and praise to the leader of this program. Mike Garner, would you stand? I know you're going to speak in a moment, but you ought to receive some praise. And he's here with the A-team. Migdalia, all of those folk over there, and the people who you've seen since you came in the lobby, that's the A-team. You go to some other places, and they tell you why we can't do that. We've never done that before. We'd like to help you, but. And this is a get-it-done place. And so you're in the right place. This is the right time. And you are, that's what they tell me, that you are the right people. So we came today to make some money. We came today to make a little noise. And we came today to take it to the next level. There aren't 6 meetings like this happening anywhere in the country. Did you hear me? There aren't people inviting other people in to say, come make some money with us. Okay, so you are blessed and fortunate. You've been invited, you're in, you got through the lobby, you got through whatever other certifications to come to be in the winner's circle. So I stopped by today to congratulate you, to motivate you, and to keep my eye on you, because people fought for you to be here. It didn't just happen. They didn't wake up and say, hey, let's send out an invitation to some folks. People fought for this program from the day that he got here. We went before the board of the MTA and said, we're with him. And then we said to the MTA board, we're watching you. Why? Because it's our money. It's our money. The taxpayers of New York fund this. And so we welcome you, we congratulate you, and we are committed and convinced that for each and every one of you, if you put your heart, soul, and back into this, that for you, the best is yet to come. God bless you today, and may heaven smile upon you. Thank you so much. It's my privilege to bring to the podium Mr. Get It Done, the man who's become a national model for what success and accomplishments look like. Not rhetoric and aspirations, but success and accomplishments. Some people actually call him Mr. Money. Would you put your hands together to welcome Michael Garner, Chief Diversity Officer for the MTA.
Thank you, Reverend. I'm not sure why somebody put me behind a Baptist minister, but he's been a great advocate and a great friend of getting things done in the state. Washington, Albany, the city council, we get things done. And so let me just welcome everybody here. It's a great day at the MTA today, a great day. Not only is this event going on, but we're opening it up. Is it called Eastside Access or is it called something else? Grand Central Madison. Grand Central Madison. That's an $11 billion project that was finalized today. The first train ride is going to take place. So if you live in Long Island and you come into the city, no longer must you depart your Long Island Railroad train and use your pass to swipe to get on the subway to get to Grand Central. You just simply stay on the train and the next stop. And so that's efficiency. This is a great organization of execution. Let me just welcome you on behalf of Governor Hochul, Jano Lieber, our master builder, who worked for Larry Silverstein in rebuilding the World Trade Center. He's a master builder, but he's MWBE and SDVOB friendly. And we have created something here that no one has done. In this complicated civil infrastructure organization, we have figured out the formula for building our projects safely, timely, on budget, and inclusive of our MWBE and SDVOB goals. We have cracked that formula. We're doing it here. But let me just, first of all, I just want to thank my superstar staff. I want all of my staff to come down in the front and stand with me. My superstar staff. So I'm not sure how many of you, when you were mired at home and stuck at home, and there was a documentary that came out called The Last Dance, and it chronicled Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls in their quest for 2 3-peats. And what happened when these Chicago Bulls drafted Michael Jordan, when they drafted Michael Jordan, he was scoring 60 points a game and they were losing. But when Scottie Pippen came, when B.J. Armstrong came, and others came, they won 6 championships. 6 championships. More rings than you can put on one finger. This is the greatest diversity team in the nation, bar none, because they don't accept no for an answer. They just simply get the job done. And let me just point out one of my staff, Juana. She was here at 5:30 this morning. Who comes at 5:30 in the morning to set up and execute an event like this except DDCR, C&D, and MTA staff? So please give the staff here the credit that they deserve. And where's Tracy Mitchell? Tracy, you sitting in the back. What's up? No, come down. So let me talk about, for a second, diversity leadership. Tracy Mitchell, who most of you all know from her experience on the Mario Cuomo Bridge of executing the DBE program on that bridge, came here. She works jointly with the governor's office and the MTA. She's assigned here. And so we just got finished with one of the largest infrastructure projects in the history of the MTA, the $1.9 billion and $1.8 billion third track. You're sitting in here because our third-party contractors just received about $5.8 billion in contracts. And so we're going to integrate you into their buying out process. With Tracy Mitchell, she has these biweekly calls to see where the contractors are with respect to reaching and achieving their MWBE and SDVOB goals. And now she's working on a very small project. It's in Orchard Park, New York. It's called the Buffalo Bills Stadium, where she's going to ensure that the county of Erie, the city of Buffalo, are going to achieve their goals on that Buffalo Bills new stadium. That's a $600 million stadium? Over $1 billion new stadium for New York's only team, the Buffalo Bills. Right. Let me also talk about where's Ray, Burke, and Chris right here. These two individuals here, they run a team that assign goals, monitor goals, and enforce goals. And so the expectation here at the MTA is that not only Are you going to finish our project safely, timely, and on budget, but you're going to do it inclusive of our MWBE and SDVOB goals? And they have a system and a process using B2G that's second to none, and we're driving. Where is Christine Norman? Christine Norman. Christine Norman came to us from a little small organization called Your Private Sector Construction Experience. Oh, Bovis Lend-Lease. Man, I had a senior moment for a minute. Bovis Lend-Lease, where we crossed paths when I was at the School Construction Authority. And she came from that experience. And then she went to DCAS to work in the Bill de Blasio administration. And then she came here at Metro North. And now she is one of the most important people with a dotted line reporting relationship to me and a solid line reporting relationship to our chief procurement officer, who, for those of you who may not know, he worked in the Mandela administration in South Africa, and he ran GE's program in South Africa. So he's an international procurement person. And so Christine has a presence on the non-core construction contracts that we award. She's there to enforce our MWBE and SDVOB inclusion. And just an example of what she did, during COVID-19, when there were people saying that we need to not think about MWBEs because it was a pandemic and an emergency, we said no. And so as a result of her grit, we awarded more than $100 million to MWBE firms during COVID-19 here. Thank you. Lorraine Warren, where's Lorraine? So Lorraine runs our DBE certification program. So I'm not sure about the horror stories that you may experience elsewhere in this state about getting certified. But it takes the MTA 31 days to certify our DBEs, 31 days. So once you submit your application, it's taking us an average of 31 days because of her staff and because of her leadership. Thank you, Lorraine. George Cleary runs one of the most effective construction mentoring programs in the nation, anywhere. We are getting ready to award $78 million in contracts this program year. And this program not only teaches you how to become better contractors, but it teaches you how to become better business people. And so George and his team, in conjunction with TDX, are doing an outstanding job of affording, as the Reverend indicated, under ordinary circumstances. A lot of you would not even be sitting here in the building because we do everything big. And so we are basically creating smaller projects so you can work for North America's largest transportation network as a prime contractor. You can be in control of your own destiny as a prime contractor. So if there's any firms in the room who are not pre-qualified to work in the MTA's Small Business Mentoring Program, you're doing yourself a disservice. And so George and his team, TDX, great job. Deidre, thank you, great job. All-star team. And then I want to talk about Dr. Rosalind Green for a second. So Dr. Rosalind Green has a focus, many focuses, but a focus on making sure that the MTA's hiring processes are inclusive, that our employees reflect the great diversity of the most diverse region in the country. She also has the responsibility of ensuring that our 70,000 plus employees have the ability to work in a bias and harassment-free environment. And so if you are an MTA employee, if you submit a complaint to us, we have seasoned investigators under her leadership that will investigate those complaints. But she also has MWBE experience. She has worked at 2 other major transportation organizations, MARTA in DART in Dallas and in Atlanta. And she also come to us from Oklahoma State University, where she has academic experience also. So she's a trifecta: EEO, Title VI, MW, and DBE. And so this is the leadership of the largest diversity team in the nation here at the MTA. Thank you. So, but we also have a great association with not only all the rest of the agencies, but we have an association with construction and development. And Steve Pachaki, who was my tag team partner, raise your hand, Steve, my tag team partner. When we first got here, Reverend DeGraff, there were people who was pushing back. And Ray Burke told me that there were people who were taking bets as to how long I would last here, right? They were taking bets. They said that the SCA's mentoring program would never work here because that program that exists at the MTA, well, that's a building environment. This is a civil infrastructure environment. It would never work here. And so we had a Get It Done CEO, and we're walking down the street one day, and he asked me a question. His name was Jay Walter, you know, the countdown clocks and express bus lanes. And he said, where's my program? I said, well, you got a couple of people at some of these agencies who are pushing back. Who? I told him. He said, listen, don't worry about it. He said, because when the legislature approved our mentor program, excuse my French, but I think it's in a good book. It's called Ass. He said, my ass is going to be on the line because they're going to ask me, where's my program at? And so he made a couple of calls. 14 years later, 550-something contracts, totally about $580 million, has been achieved here at the MTA in the mentor program, small business mentoring program. But, and I told that story because Steve brought into what we were doing from day one. And this man has been responsible for some of the greatest things that we have done here, including increasing the MTA's discretionary threshold to $1.5 million. That was his idea, to get it to $1 million. His idea. And we got it done. He's also creating opportunities for graduates who graduate out of the mentor program in creating smaller packages from $3 million to $25 million. So now we have some great success stories of firms who are graduating from our mentor program and now doing work and competing against other non-ethnic minority-owned firms, and guess what? And winning. And that's under the vision and leadership of my great friend and tag team partner, Steve Pachaki. So thank you, Steve. I want to just thank also our third-party contractors, because we could not have achieved 32.5% of MWBE inclusion, exceeding the governor's 30% goal, without you. And so I just mentioned that we have figured out the formula here of executing contracts, awarding contracts, and you're responsible for finishing those contracts safely, timely, on budget, and inclusive of our MWBE goals. So a lot of times our third-party contractors don't get the courtesy and acknowledgement that they should, but I'm giving it to you on this day. I want to thank all of our third-party contractors and consultants for executing the MTA's MWBE mission, and that's the reason why you're here today. Thank you, Mitch. Thank you, others. Thank you, Hamar. Thank you. So from a data point perspective, we paid $1.3 billion last year, or we were responsible for $1.3 billion last year, paid to MWBEs and SDVOBs, $1.3 billion. And the reason why that's important, Ken, is access to contracts equals home ownership, job creation, better educational opportunities, and better healthcare options for you and your families. And so, in closing, I just want to say thank you. And C&D, and you will hear from Jamie Torres Springer this afternoon, working in conjunction with C&D, Frank Salvato, and others, we have achieved a POA agreement on Park Avenue Viaduct. where if you're certified MW or DBE, SDVOB, if you don't have a union agreement, you can work on subcontracts here up to $5 million without having an affiliation. It's a carve-out. It's called a carve-out. And so the standard used to be $2 million. Javits, Monahan Station, $2 million. We achieved a $5 million carve-out on Park Avenue Viaduct. Also, and I just mentioned that the $1.5 million discretionary, and I'm going to use my executive influence to call up Christine Norman, and who's going to talk to you about non-core opportunities. She's also going to talk to you about a discretionary contract that we had in information technology, and Steve claims that he's going to beat that in this recent architect and engineering discretionary RFP that we just released, where we hired 13 New York State certified MWBEs to focus on our design and architecture and other kind of professional services work. And Julie Harris, we spoke to her and her organization, and they gave us some great thoughts and ideas, and some great things happened because these 13 firms are going to work on contracts not exceeding $100 million, Steve? I'm talking about overall, the size of the contract doing is a duration. Right. And that word is called unlimited. Unlimited opportunities for that pool of 13 firms. So Christine Norman, you're up. Thank you very much for being here. And in the words of Reverend Dr. Graff, the best is yet to come.
Good morning, everyone. Okay, so I'm just going to remind you of some homework that you have to do, all right? Number one, anyone who is not registered for the MTA's bidders list needs to register. If you're not on the bidders list, you won't receive updates of opportunities to do business with the MTA, right? We solicit a lot of our procurements through a secure portal. And so you need to register your business so that you can receive notifications of opportunities to bid with the MTA. All right? So you're going to visit the table, and I will share more information with you on our website and where you can register your business to work with the MTA. All right? But Michael mentioned that I oversee non-construction opportunities, and I met with a few people already this morning that provide staffing services or marketing and graphic arts services. So I want you to know that the MTA, we utilize a variety of different goods and services. So there's probably something for everyone here, right? So we don't bid these opportunities all the time, and that's why you need to be ready and on our bidders list so that you will receive notification of those opportunities. As mentioned, we have lots of IT opportunities. We previously pre-qualified 29 IT firms that have won discretionary awards totaling overall over $170 million with the MTA. And those are opportunities that were valued up to $1.5 million. So we have a new RFP coming up early this year. So you want to register for our bidders list so that you can access those opportunities if you are an IT firm that either resells software and hardware or provides consulting services that we can utilize. All right? So make sure that you do that. We purchase any number of goods and services, so you name it. So from electrical supplies to graphic supplies, signage, maintenance and repair services. So I know that this is a construction-focused event. Don't forget to look at MTA procurement. That is under New York City Transit or MTA headquarters for small opportunities. We bid multi-year contracts for maintenance and repair services. So services like HVAC, duct cleaning, fire alarms, those are services that you will see on the non-construction side. All right, so there is, again, a plethora of opportunities with the MTA. If you do your homework, visit our website, learn our business, download the bid documents, become familiar with our contract terms and conditions. The more you know about us and our requirements, the better you'll do, the more prepared you will be to respond to solicitations as they become available. The other important thing for you to do is attend pre-bid and pre-proposal conferences so that, again, you can learn the requirements of any project that we are soliciting, and you'll know how you can fit in. You will meet the prime contractors. You'll see who's bidding those contracts, and you'll know who to reach out to for more information. But if you spend some time doing your homework on our website, you'll learn a lot about our business, who we are doing business with, and how you might fit in. And then you can come to these events prepared to ask the right questions, you know, of people in the room that are here to help you. All right? So make sure you do your part, you know, so that we can help match you with opportunities to do business with the MTA. All right. Also, again, the MTA has the highest discretionary purchasing authority in the state of New York, probably nationally. All right. Our authority is 1.5 million, and that means you have opportunities to compete against other certified firms and not against prime contractors for the goods and services that we buy. So you don't have to compete against Granger or Fastenal or IBM. You're competing against the person that is sitting next to you, another certified firm. So if you're MWBE or SDVOB, if you're not registered to do business with the MTA, I don't know if you're doing a lot of business. All right? So thank you for your time and attention. And you have a packed day of people to meet and lots of information to learn. All right? Good luck to everyone.
See, a superstar team. I told you, you hire leaders and give them the ability to execute, create and execute. And I just saw her a minute ago. Melissa Jones is our partner at C&D for any MW, DBE, SDVOB related issue. She's a force of nature when it comes to getting stuff done. So Melissa Jones. And you know, when we were locked up during COVID, I'm not sure about you guys, but I would watch former Governor Andrew Cuomo every day. And I was depressed when he would end his press conferences and didn't tell us that we were back open. And so we shut down on March 16th. I'm in the office on March 16th, and Ray Burke was in the office. And I get a phone call from our Human Resource Department, and they said, "What are you doing here?" I said, "I'm working." So they asked me a question. They said, "Well, who else is in your department working?" I said, "Ray Burke and others." He said, "Well, go home and don't come back. We're shutting the MTA down. The governor has shut down the MTA and shut down the state." So every day I would watch March, nothing. April, nothing. May, nothing. June, nothing. I was depressed. So finally, when the governor said, "We're opening back up on July 6th, I said, "Hallelujah, let me get out of this house and get back to work." And I came back, and we had senior staff coming back. But my assistant, Medalia Tavares, who coordinated this event this morning, she came back on July 6th. Now, mind you, she has 2 young children at home. One was 3, the other one was 5. But July 6th, she came back every day. She was with me every day. And so she was a manager during that time, and she got promoted to director because you have to reward people who work hard for you. And so now she is a director. Stand up. She is a director of the best and the greatest MWBE program, SDVOB program in the nation. So you hire talent, you give them the ability to create and execute, and you reward talent. And so, Mr. Director, thank you for your service. Thank you. So we have a partner up in Albany, and it kills me when we hear from our third-party contractors when they tell us that they can't find SDVOBs. Kills me. So we are not even going to entertain that anymore, because we're going to work together and we're going to recruit and integrate SDVOBs, Mitch, in our process. And so this is an organization that the term goal waivers is a bad word. It's a bad word. Goal waivers is a bad word? Bad word. Bad word. And so this talented gentleman, veteran, who the previous governor tapped to create an SDVO program and get it executed throughout the state of New York, and he's our partner from OGS, executive director of the SDVOB program, I believe, or director, but he's our partner up in Albany, and we're going to get this done. We're going to include our SDVOBs in our procurements, and we're going to exceed the state's goals. So Ken Williams is my partner.
Thanks, Mike. You know, some of the words from the Reverend and everybody else, you know, why we're here, how we're here, and whatever. We're here because people have stood up and fought for us, okay? People of all shapes, sizes, colors, religions, everything else, okay? And these veterans are now back here in the private sector, and a lot of them have a lot of trouble transitioning, all right? There's a lot of, it's not easy, okay? I'm 73 years old. I served back in, you know, from 1970 to 1973. When I came home, you couldn't even say you were a veteran. I couldn't put it on my resume because I wouldn't be able to get a job, all right? Those days have passed, but there's still an issue, okay? We need programs. You know, I look at the world today and what's going on, and it's a little bit scary, okay, what's going on. We need people to go into the military. We need people to want to go into the military. It's an all-volunteer. I won the first lottery for the draft, so I didn't have a choice, okay? But, okay, we don't have the draft anymore. But guess what, folks? The draft is still there. It is still there. If issues come up that we don't get enough volunteers, we can return to the 60s and the draft can be instituted. How do we prevent that? We prevent that by showing young people, men and women, that being a veteran means something, and when you get out, there's things that people will do for you to try to help you boost up. All right? Governor Hochul just, you know, this year I hit 1,000 active SDVOBs, okay? I've certified over 1,200, but I keep the list real, all right? So we now have over 1,000 SDVOBs. She did a press release. I encourage all of you to go to our website, ogs.ny.gov/veterans. Look at the video there. I identified 3 different SDVOB firms that went from virtually nothing to millions of dollars in sales in a number of years, okay? The program's working. It doesn't just help veteran businesses, owners. Veterans look to hire veterans. So when you give a contract to a veteran-owned business, it's not just money for the veteran-owned business owner, it's jobs for the veterans that are in danger and so on and so forth. This is the underlying thing. This is what keeps me going. This is what makes me so proud as to where we've come, okay? Up until now, we've been rather lax in enforcement, okay? That stops now. And we have a system that's been developed, okay? It's similar, you know, we built it from scratch. That integrates SFS, all the other stuff. It's 1.5 years behind schedule coming out. Why? Because it integrates everything, okay? And it's very difficult when you're trying to get all these state agencies to get things together. I expect it to hit the streets in April or May, okay? And that's going to be a game changer for us in following up on contracts. I know I've been around to each of the tables, each of the contractors that are here. Thank you for all you're doing for our programs. Thank you. But good faith effort is no longer shooting out a bunch of emails. It's no longer everything else. If you are looking for any kind of a waiver, which Mike is not going, and his people are not going to grant, you know, sometimes they're real. We're going to look at good faith effort. Part of that good faith effort needs to include working with us, my staff, all right? I can't do this for every agency because I don't have, I mean, Mike lined up his staff here. If I lined my staff up, it would go to here, okay? They're just as dedicated and just as, you know, impassioned about getting things done. But I can't review every contract. I can't do everything. That's why we rely on the agencies to do that. However, the days of throwing out a mass email a few days before you need somebody, those days are over. More importantly, the days of listing one of my SDVOBs as a, you know, when you, in order to get the contract and then not using them, those days are over, okay? So I, you know, I had a severe conflict that came up yesterday, and I told Mike I couldn't make it today. And then I looked again and I said, you know what? I got to be there. I got to be there. So, you know, I'm passionate about this. I can't stay forever. I'm going to be here for another hour or so. But anybody that wants to know, the rules for my program are different than the ones for the MWBEs. You can't just look for construction people. We have some of the best security firms in the country, okay? People that have done security for the president, okay? You know, and we have fencing companies. We have all kinds of companies. And there's not a reason in the world. Oh, and by the way, prior to COVID, I visited everyone face-to-face at their place of business. During COVID, I had to shift to the virtual. Now I'm continuing the virtual because my focus has shifted from getting SDVOBs to sign up. Why was that? Why did I have to do that? I had to do it for a couple of reasons. One is I needed to make sure that my businesses can perform. So I need to meet with each one individually, which I still do. But more importantly, veterans are leery of government programs. Okay? They have been, can I say screwed over? They've been screwed over numbers of times by government programs. They had to know there was an old son of a bitch vet running this one. So, you know, that's why I got out there. That's why we've got over 1,000. The applications are still coming in. And by the way, Mike, I got one up on you, okay? 3 of my staff never left the office during COVID. Because I was 73, I kind of laid low a little bit and did everything. But, you know, we never missed a beat. And, you know, I cannot say thank you enough to all the MTA people that are working with us. The MWBE program has been around for a long time. It's been very successful. This started 8 years ago, the SDVOB program. We were embraced by the MTA people and my good friend Mike from the beginning. But it's been tough. And, you know, we kind of got together the end of last year and said the excuses stop. The excuses stop now. And so I'm going to do whatever I need to do this year to make sure that I support the no waiver, you know, the no waiver stance. So I do have it in my power to have me be, to have to have it come through me to be able to grant the waivers, but I don't need to do that because of the people here. So thank you all very much. Please feel free to reach out. You can come get my card. If you ever want to talk to me personally, the best thing to do is send me an email and ask me to call you, because obviously I don't put my cell phone on there and my staff tries to handle everything. But as an old vet, I cannot tell you how passionate I am. There are people in this room. I just talked with one person in this room today that told me he went from like 3 people to 22 people. All right, and this has made a difference. It's making a difference, and I'll end with this. If you choose one of our businesses to work with you, you're going to be the beneficiary, because they're going to be a business you'd want to use even if you couldn't check a box. So thank you very much. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it.
Hey, if a man can come down from Albany, you can do better than that. He came down from Albany this morning. And so when we get waivers, we're not approving waivers until his office and his staff has honed in and have approved it. So no longer are we going to give waivers unless he and his staff approve the waiver, because we're going to turn this SDVOB program around in the greatest state, the Empire State, in the greatest country in the world. And if a person has risked their life so we can walk around and conduct business and live, we can go the extra yard in ensuring that they have economic opportunity. And so in addition to that, thank you again. And in addition to that, Sylvia White, superstar from Harlem Hospital, chief of staff, and now in the private sector. In addition to that, I'm having a meeting, a starting meeting with Skanska on this day, because all of the chief diversity officers, we get on calls and we're talking about the disparity within the disparity. Why is it that Black, Hispanic, and Asian firms cannot work on government contracts the way that they should? And so we're going to talk about that this morning. I'm going to talk about it with Skanska, and we're going to start a beginning of a conversation to see what we're going to do to ensure that everybody has the opportunity to work on taxpayer-driven government contracts and subcontracts. We live in the most diverse region in the country. We got to make sure, Leon Baptiste, this guy here is doing millions of dollars of work, both in New York and in New Jersey. Giant Stadium. He invited me to Washington last year, where I spoke on a panel that was convened by Congressman Donald Payne. And he was responsible for getting Congressman Payne here at our annual DBE summit that we had here a few months ago. And so if you want to look at a track record of a success story, it's Leon Baptiste, one of the region's and nation's most effective electricians, large firm. I mean, you make us proud, because the doors that we open, the battles that we fight, and I'll tell you about a battle in a minute, the battles that we fight, when someone like you walks through the door and take full advantage of the opportunity and you grow and you hire people, that's the American dream. So thank you for your great work and your great dedication to these programs. So a quick story. I told you about COVID-19 and how there were those who wanted us to waive MWBE goals. We wouldn't do it, $100 million. We had a second example here that, as Frank Salvato knows, that former Governor Andrew Cuomo wanted to enhance the customer experience in some of our subway stations. So we shut down, or we were going to shut down 32 subway stations. And we did it in packages of 5 and 6. And so I was in a meeting, and one of our chief engineers said that since the governor has an ambitious schedule, we were shutting down these stations for a period of 4, 5, and 6 months. Contractors were going to work 24 hours, 7 days a week, nonstop. And so someone said that, well, we spoke to the industry, and the industry said that since the governor has an ambitious schedule, we should waive the MWBE goals. So I said, you talked to the industry, but did you talk to everybody in the industry? Did you talk to the minority business community? And the answer was no. So in a very senior staff meeting, I shut it down. I said, listen, we're going to shut this meeting down until we have had the opportunity to bring the minority business community in and listen to what they have to say, since we're talking to the industry, right? Right. So we brought the MWBEs in, and we gave them an overview of the projects and an aggressive schedule and a time frame. And we simply asked them the question, can you work on a 7-day-a-week, 24-hour project? And they said, absolutely, as long as the prime contractor pay us twice a month so we can pay our union benefits. Done. So on all 6 packages, we either met or exceeded the governor's 30% goal on each and every one of those packages, because we listened to what you had to say, and we took what you had to say, and we implemented it. And so that's one of the success stories. Another story is that, and Reverend DeGraff knows this, that we just awarded a $1 billion bond deal because we issued debt in order to support our $54.8 billion capital program. We issued a $1 billion bond deal to the largest black investment banking firm in the country, Siebert, Williams, and Shank. That's the company that former New York City Controller Bill Thompson is now a principal of. It took 12 years since Paul Williams did it at DASNY when he was president and CEO. It took us 12 years in this region to issue another $1 billion bond deal to a black-owned investment firm. And so on the most recent contract, where we finally diversified our core business of transportation, we awarded a $278 million transportation contract to an Hispanic-owned firm in the South Bronx. That is the largest contract ever awarded to a MWBE in the history of the MTA, and the second largest contract in the state of New York since the inception of the MWBE program in the state of New York that was created by former Governor Mario Cuomo in July of 1988. Second largest one in the state. And so last year, the state paid $2.6 billion to minority women-owned firms. The state of New York, which encompasses 97 state agencies and authorities, $2.6 billion. The MTA represented $826 million, almost $1 billion. We're 30% of all payments that were paid to New York State certified MWBEs, 30%. And so the opportunity is here. You're here, and we're going to bring up our first third-party contractor, who is our partner, and we want them to give you an overview of their respective projects. We also want them to give you the point person and cell phone number or email address of the person responsible for buying out that project. And so one of my DBE certification gurus is going to take over from me right now. Gia? Thank you. All yours.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Now we'll be bringing up to the podium Mr. Jamie Sharon from A. Hearn Painting Contractors, Inc.
Hello. All right. I'm here today representing A. Hearn Painting Contractors. Before I get into my whole spiel, what's up on the board, prior to being with A. Hearn, I spent 11 years with a WBE, DBE firm. So I was sitting on the other side of the podium for a lot of these meetings. There's many of the contractors also in this room who I did business with whilst I was with my last firm. These meetings are great. They present great opportunities, great networking events for everybody. Like's been said to you before, take advantage of it, get to know everybody in the room. It may not be the jobs we're here talking about today, but there'll be countless opportunities in the future for everybody. So embrace these, go to as many as you can, get to know as many people as you can. It will pay off in the long run. All right, so I'm here today to talk about a recent job that we were awarded by the MTA. I guess next slide. All right, let's give you a little breakdown, a little rundown on Ahern Painting Contractors. We've been in business since 1964, doing work in the New York City area. Our primary business is bridge painting. We've also got into power plants, transit lines, commercial painting of building and institutions. We've worked hard to earn and maintain our reputation for completing projects meticulously, on time and on budget. We've done work for New York State DOT, MTA Bridges and Tunnels, New York City Transit, Long Island Railroad, New York City DOT, Port Authority, and pretty much every other agency in the area. Next slide. In the last 10 years, we've done a lot of contracts for what makes up the MTA. The TBTA, New York City Transit, Long Island Railroad, and Metro North. Here's a list of some of the recent jobs we did. I think our reputation on all these jobs was great. Left the owner very happy. We did our part to meet our requirements on the jobs, meet our goals, exceed our goals, not only with the DBE requirements, but also our EEO compliance for our workforce. Next slide. All right, so the project I'm here to talk about today is 34921R. There's an R at the end of it because it had to be rebid, so the R might eventually disappear because it's just was added that after the fact. So this picture you see here is of Broadway Junction in Brooklyn. Hectic area. Next slide. So here's a rundown on the project. It's the official name of the job is overcoating, painting, and steel repairs of the elevated structure, Williamsburg Bridge to Myrtle Avenue. The project description is the work includes structural repairs and painting of the Jamaica line and portion of the Canarsie line in the borough of Brooklyn. Work includes abrasive blasting, painting, structural repairs to a portion of the elevated structure between Williamsburg and DeSalle's Place. Structural repairs at East New York leads and loops on the Jamaica and Canarsie lines. The project duration is 1,186 calendar days, 3.25 years. Project value is $164 million. The DBE goal on the job is 22.5%. The MWBE SDVOB participation on this job is 0 from that standpoint, but we welcome all the MW and SDVOB firms to be involved in this project and give you the chance to partake in this. Next slide. All right, here's a little brief look at the job. As you can see, the structure needs a paint job. The long and short of it. This is down at the Broadway Junction section of the job. The job is $164 million of paint with a little bit of steel added in there. It's a small portion of the job, the steel repairs. When I asked questions during the walkthrough, they said, the purpose of this job is not to fix the steel, it's actually to paint the structure. We're only going to fix what needs to be fixed at this point. There'll be future steel repair jobs coming out down there. So this is down at Broadway. This is the section of the job that has to be done in the first 365 days of the job. Anybody familiar with that area knows it's a hectic area. It's right in the middle of a community. So we're working actively with the community to make sure we disrupt their day-to-day life as little as possible. Next slide. The remainder beyond the Broadway Junction section of the job is the elevated subway line going all the way down Broadway, basically from Broadway Junction all the way to the Williamsburg Bridge. You see in this picture, this is what it looks like. We've all probably driven under this elevated structure. hundreds of times. You know, I remember growing up in the area, driving under these things and never thinking twice that eventually I'd be doing some work on them. So I'm sure everybody, most people in this room probably have similar experiences. Next slide. Just a little cut sheet, cut section from the plans of exactly what it looks like. Active track above. Basically, we'll be installing a wood ceiling up against the track, putting a shield underneath the steel, building containments, blasting and painting, putting a nice four-coat paint system to give you a beautiful green structure. No signs of rust. And along the way, if we, wherever we encounter bad steel, it will be replaced. That's basically the project in a nutshell. Maybe not the sexiest job, maybe not the most, it's not building a new Tappan Zee Bridge or some of the other projects people are going to talk about here today, but it's work. It's opportunities for everybody in this room to get involved with. Next slide. Currently with contracts for this job, the following following DBE firms are already signed up for this project. Hire Painting Inc. They'll be providing safety and environmental consulting on the job. Integrated Structures will be performing all steel repairs as well as the steel fabrication. LB Consulting will be doing the CPM schedules. NJ&C Associates will be providing sanitation facilities. PDK Commercial Photographers will be doing job site photography. Traffic lane closures will be providing traffic maintenance equipment. United Fuel Services will be the fuel supplier on the job, and Wang Technologies will be our acoustical consultant on this project. These are all firms that we currently have contracts with already to be involved in this project. Next slide. So what are the opportunities that still are out there? I would say there's, any opportunity, anybody wants to get involved, come talk to us. We'll figure out, try and get you involved, but these are the glaring, obvious spots where we could use some help completing this job. Painting subcontractor. You must have the QP1, QP2 certification and some MTA experience. That's part of the contract documents. That's something we can talk about, but those are kind of important requirements. Electrical subcontractor. We have 50 intersections on the job where traffic signals need to be relocated. The one caveat to that is you must be approved by New York City DOT for traffic signal relocation. We will have multiple yards, trailers. We will be looking for security guard services on the project. And then we're going to get into the supply stuff. Obviously, the main material we need is paint. So paint suppliers. We'll be using a large amount of lumber on this job for the wood ceilings that we have to build prior to blasting. So lumber suppliers, obviously miscellaneous paint supplies. As we all know, when again painting, you need a lot of consumables. A lot of stuff gets thrown away after a day of painting. So we'll be buying a lot of paint supplies. There's also going to be equipment demands on the job, whether it's sales or rentals, man lifts, compressors, specialty paint equipment. We'll be looking for this magnitude of the job. We have some own stuff, but we're definitely going to be looking to buy and rent more stuff as the job goes on. And finally, the MTA, as well as ourselves, have 2 large offices on this project. So we're responsible for outfitting both our own office as well as the MTA's office. So we'll be looking for participation from office furniture and office supplies. Will also be a source of opportunities. Next slide. So just who's here today? Obviously myself, James Sheeran. I'm a vice president for Ahern. Mike Gosher, he is going to be the quality manager on this project. Specific questions about the job, he's the guy to answer them. He's sitting over there. And Anna Stolarski, she's our corporate CEO compliance officer. She's involved in this project, but she can also give you some oversight and insight into other projects we have, how we go about vetting our MWBE vendors, how you get on our mailing list, our email list, and what other opportunities may be out there on some of our other projects. I'd be foolish to not mention it. Right around the same time as getting this job awarded, we were also awarded another job with the MTA. It's at the Throgs Neck Bridge. Smaller in value, obviously. It's a $16 million project. That's an MWSDVOB project. We are close to meeting our goals, if not have met our goals on that project, but there's countless opportunities also on that for everybody in the room. So once again, that's a painting contract. There's a bit more concrete work, a little bit of steel work on that job. So definitely feel free, stop by, talk to us. There may be opportunities on that project or some of our other projects that we have currently ongoing. That's it.
Thank you, Jamie, for everything. There's a lot of opportunities there, and I'm familiar with Broadway Junction, so that's a big job. Okay, next to the podium is Mr. Peter Baselli from Sinota.
Thank you, everyone. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Peter Baselli, and I'm a senior estimator / contract specialist for Sinota Construction. Today, I'm representing our Sinota-Scalamandri joint venture team for the Long Island Railroad ADA Improvement Project that we're going to be starting very shortly. But before we talk about that job, a little bit about myself. I've been in the industry for 30 years, most recently the last 4 years with Sinota Construction. Let's see. Sinota was incorporated in 1948, privately owned, and it's a public sector, privately owned company. We do all our work with MTA, SCA, DDC, Long Island Railroad, DASNY, to name a few agencies that we work with. I guess our mission statement, is we are committed to improving the communities that we build in. It's a great company to work with. It's privately owned. Everything we do is family-owned business. It's a really great place to work. So we're pretty happy with my decision that I'm here. Before I start talking about the new job that we have, some of the jobs that we have with the MTA right now, which we're doing 3 joint ventures with Forte Construction, that's here today as well. We're doing the 14th Street Station Rehabilitation Project. We're working at 68th Street at Hunter College, and we're installing 9 new escalators at Grand Central Terminal. So we've got a lot of MTA and experience under our belt. Some of the contractors that we use, specifically our DBE subs that we rely on, naming a few, we have Integrated Structures, JP Hogan, Rocco Mechanical, PMC Rebar, Providence Construction. There are plenty of good companies out there to work with, and we use them on an everyday basis. So that's probably the best thing that we can say about these few companies that I brought up. I guess talking about the Long Island Railroad job, it's an ADA station improvement project. It consists of working on 9 stations and 4 on Long Island, or I guess 5 on Long Island, counting Valley Stream, and 4 in Queens. The main objective of the project is to installing 10 elevators across the 9 stations. One of them is getting 2 of them, and at Valley Stream we're redoing the escalator that is there. We're excited about doing this project for the MTA. We feel that our over 45 years of experience will come into play. We've worked on the Long Island Railroad ESI projects, so we've got a nice, repertoire. It's pretty good here. I guess we can start with the slides. So the general ADA requirements on this project is going to be design accessibly in parking spaces, redoing the sidewalks, curbs and ramps and crosswalks, redoing the stairs, signage, public address systems, and most importantly, the elevators and escalators. That's the gist of the project, and that's our bread and butter right now. So we're pretty good at handling this stuff. Next slide. At the Long Island stations, we're working at Amityville, Copiague, Lindenhurst, and the Massapequa Park stations. In a nutshell, I don't want to just read off the slide. We're installing new elevators, new glass enclosures, providing handrail extensions, new concrete work, new platform rubbing edges, canopy modifications, and installation of the MEP improvements. All along, the MTA is going to be getting a brand new station and with upgrades. Next slide, please. The Valley Stream Station, it's a little bit more complicated, where we're taking out the escalator and putting a new escalator in. We're going to be decommissioning the existing elevator there, putting in new elevators, and just following the same protocol that the other stations are going. You know, bird deterrents, MEP fixtures, ADA platforms, you name it, we're going to be doing it for these guys. So at the end, all the communities are going to be very happy with the project that we're doing. Next slide, please. The 4 stations in Queens, more or less, are getting the same overhaul that we're doing. I believe one of the 2 stations we're doing some tunnel modifications, more elevator work, repaving plaza areas. Basically, every community in these 9 stations can be very happy with us. Next slide, please. Some of the items that we're going to be looking to buy out right now are going to be the photos, asbestos. Well, let me stop there. We just got awarded the job in late December, and we're in the design process right now. So we're working with our designers to get final design so we actually go out for bids. One of the, you know, with the design build aspect here, we don't have the drawings ready to go out for bid. So we have to work with our designers, come up with steel design, come up with concrete designs, foundation designs. That's probably, you know, the most important thing before we even start doing the buyouts. When we're ready, it's going to be everything from the masonry, the metals, the steel, the painting, canopies, you name it, it has to be bought out. So we're open for business and, you know, ready to, you know, speak to everybody here. That's really it. If you have any questions, you could always come up and see me, and have a good day, everybody.
Thank you, Peter. Okay, next coming up to the podium is Joe Castaldo and Mark Lewicki from Gramercy.
Good morning, everyone. We're here today to talk about, it's actually a Gramercy and PJS joint venture. So it's Paul J. Scariano and the Gramercy Group. We teamed up and we were the low bidder on a project on the Jamaica line. The project is repairs of 3 stations on the Jamaica line. The bid date was in October. Our NTP date was December, so it's just less than a month ago. Contract value is a little over $125 million. And one point that I'm very proud of to say as I'm up here is that in less than a month, we've issued over $50 million in MW and SDVOB contracts so far. So it's a very fast-track project. We had to move quickly, so we have been awarding contracts within the past few weeks, and we've already exceeded our goals. So that's something we're very proud of, but we're not going to take our goals as a limitation. We're here today to solicit more participation from a lot of other firms, and we'll talk about a little bit more details as we go on. So in the next few slides, I'm just going to give you a little bit of history about Gramercy, and then my partner Mark is going to take over, tell you about PJS, and then we'll get into a little bit more specifics about the project itself. So on this next slide, who is Gramercy? Gramercy was established in 1989. We are ourselves a woman-owned business. Our president and CEO is Joanna Parziali. She's here today. You could come say hello to her afterwards at our table. We started out as an environmental remediation and a demolition company. The background photo you see in this picture is work we've completed at LaGuardia Airport. We've had a major presence there, dismantling the terminal buildings, roadways. We've also taken down parking garages, and we've worked at JFK as well with some of our the demolition side of our business. But over the past decade, we've experienced a lot of growth, and we've moved past just our roots of a demolition contractor, and we've gone into the world of general contracting. And one of our biggest clients is actually the MTA. Sorry. We've done a number of ADA projects over the past couple of years, and also some flood mitigation jobs. And if you go to the next slide. The picture in the background here is an ADA project we completed 2 years ago at the Eastern Parkway Brooklyn Museum Station. We were also joint venture partners at the 59th Street Station in Brooklyn, completing ADA work. And we also had a 9-station flood mitigation project for the MTA as well. And more recently, we've actually been working at Grand Central Station replacing elevators. So ADA and flood mitigation has kind of been our little niche over the past few years with the MTA. But we've also started getting into station renovation, and this is one of our largest station repair projects to date. When it comes to MW and SDVOB firms, You could pre-qualify at our website. It's gramercyusa.com. There'll be a link there where you could submit all of your qualifications, and based on the type of work you do, we maintain a list of firms that we contact when we're soliciting bids. You could also contact our liaison directly, Anthony Vicardo. The main office number is there. And that's it. We always look to solicit participation, and come by and say hello to us later. Now I'm just going to pass it off to Mark so he can tell you a little bit about PJS, and then it'll come back to me and I'll give you a little bit more details about the actual Jamaica Line project.
Thanks, Joe. Good morning, everyone. I'm Mark Nowicki. I'm the Chief Compliance Officer at Paul J. Scariano. The company was founded in 1996. We're actually comprised of 3 different companies. Paul J. Scariano, Inc., which is heavy civil specialty general contractor. We also have a electrical company, PJS Electric, and we also have part ownership in a company, DBE Construction Corporation, which does utility work. So we're looking, for participation in all of those entities. But specifically this job, we've partnered with Gramercy in this joint venture, and you could see the breadth of work experience that we have complements our joint venture and our partnership with Gramercy. We have experience with foundations and footings, structural replacement, underground utilities through the various entities that we have, transportation systems, roads, bridges, green infrastructure, parks, interior tenant fit out with the East Side Access Project, and working with the Port Authority, and ground up building construction that we've done at the Police Memorial at Battery Park. We have a lot of talent in the organization, a lot of experience. People have worked with each other at other entities, so I think we're going to work very well together on this project, and who knows, maybe we'll go forward on others. But we consider ourselves, able to work with time-sensitive and very complex design projects. That's where we think our niche is, but we do have an experience with a lot of different construction aspects. Our MBE, WBE, DBE, and SDVOB opportunities, even in areas that we do have expertise in electrical, but we're looking for plumbing, HVAC, painting, structural steel, miscellaneous iron, and doors and windows. Our VP of Acquisitions and Procurement is Ken DeLashow. There's his number there. I have his cards back on the table. I've met with some of you before, and I'm happy to continue that conversation with you and others after this. And there's the email address. Some of the pictures in the background are various MTA projects, Greenpoint, East Side Access, and Union Square. So I'm going to pass the baton to Joe, and he's going to finish our little chat here.
All right, a little bit about the project that we're here to speak about today. If you could go to the next slide. It is 3-station. It's a repair contract on the Jamaica Line. Even though they're consecutive stations, 2 of the stations are in Queens and 1 is in Brooklyn. The stations are the Cypress Hill Station, 75th Street Station, and the 85th Street Station. There's also miscellaneous work at other stations as well, such as 104th Street and 121st Street. There's some platform edge work, and there's also some demolition work required for a circuit breaker house. That's just a little map of where the locations of the stations are. And if you could go to the next slide, it's a description of the type of stations they are. They are elevated platform stations. 2-track configuration, 2 side platforms. They're cast-in-place concrete platforms. Basically, the scope is we are removing the entire platforms. There will be 6-month bypass on each of the platforms where we're going to do demolition of the platforms, a ton of steel repairs, pour the concrete platforms back in place, And there's also a ton of miscellaneous metals work in regards to windscreens, stairs, railings, and of course, electrical and communication work that goes along with station renovation work as well. Some of the opportunities that are still outstanding, if you go to the next slide, that we would certainly encourage MW and SDVOB participation. We need to hire a monitoring consultant for air, dust, noise, vibration, architectural finishes, benches, railings, stuff like that. We still have some opportunity there. Consultants such as providing safety coverage, safety supervisors, engineering firms for miscellaneous support, during demolitions and structural work and stuff like that. A roofing contractor, HVAC, and photography as well. I've listed the person to contact for this particular project. Her name is Danielle Verdecchia, and her email address is on the screen here. If you want to stop by our booth later, we could give you that information as well. But other than that, thank you very much, and we hope to talk to you soon.
Thank you, Mark and Joe. Next, we'll be having Mr. Dennis Capolino from Hallmark International.
Hi, everybody. I want to say thanks for coming out. I know that giving up a whole day in the middle of the work week is hard for a lot of people. So I want to talk a little bit about Hallmark International and some of the opportunities that we currently have. Mike had earlier spoke a little bit about the Chicago Bulls and Michael Jordan. I think that Hallmark is the New York City version of the Chicago Bulls in the construction industry. I think we're a cut above the rest. With no disrespect to our competitors in the room, of course. Can we go to the next slide, please? So, in 2017, Hallmark became a subsidiary of ASTM. ASTM is an Italian company, one of the largest construction companies in the world. They're also the second largest P3 concessionaire company in the world. Next slide, please. So we're proud of Hallmark and our history, and obviously our future too. But we're a company that doesn't believe in lawsuits, claims, or conflicts. We resolve everything. We currently have over 200 professional staff persons, mostly in our Nanuet office, which is our main office, but we also have ASTM has an office in New York City, and we have offices in Atlanta, Virginia Beach, and Baltimore right now too. Over 35 PEs, or I'm sorry, of the 200 professional staff, we have about 35 or 40 PEs. So types of projects we do, we're very focused on design build. We also do design bid build, best value, CMGC. And with the ASTM merger and Hallmark, we've expanded into the P3 concession market. And actually, one of the projects we're going to talk about today that we've recently been awarded is MTA's first P3 project. Can we go to the next slide, please? So, some of the jobs we've done. One Vanderbilt, improvements at Grand Central Terminal, Kew Gardens Interchange, one of the Enhanced Station Initiative projects we did, and the Long Island Railroad third track expansion. We were part of the joint venture for that project. The third track expansion currently is at almost $500 million. in MW and SDVOB participation. I think it's probably the highest of any MTA job ever. So we're pretty proud of that. Well over 200 firms participated on that job with us. Can we go to the next slide, please? So this is what we do: highway and bridges, civil, underground, rail and transit, aviation. It's the kind of work we do, just about everything. And if you've ever taken a train or driven a road around New York City, you've either seen one of our projects that's either in process or something that we just completed. Can we go to the next slide? So some recently awarded projects. Mike also talked about the Park Avenue Viaduct. That's our job, just awarded to us. Just getting started out now. Contract duration, it's going to run from this month to June of 2026. Basically taking down the entire viaduct from 115th Street to 123rd Street. One of the big things, and that got us, I think, awarded this project, is we figured out a way to do it 21 months faster than MTA. Than MTA thought anybody could do it. Next slide. Again, as I mentioned, so we've also been awarded MTA's first P3 project, which is a 13-station ADA upgrade. Actually, Forte is one of our dedicated subs on that project. They're going to be doing 5 of the 13 stations. So 34 new elevators, basically stair refurbishments, that sort of stuff, just to make it more handicap friendly. Next slide, please. So, and also, you know, a year ago we were awarded the Penn Station Access Project, which is another very big job. We're just finishing designs now and getting ready to start construction. This is a DBE job. We've already awarded over $250 million in DBE contracts on this project, and we haven't even really started up construction yet. Next slide, please. Another job, this is actually a New York State DOT job, but we're replacing 2 Long Island Railroad bridges on the Van Wyck Expressway. We're about halfway through this project now, but there's still plenty of opportunities. This project is a MWBE SDVOB goal job. Next slide, please. So opportunities. The way we approach a project is basically anything, we'll sub out anything. We don't always go into a project saying, okay, we're doing the utilities or we're doing the concrete. We try to tailor our jobs to what subcontractors are available in the marketplace. So if we would typically do concrete on a project, if we have a SDVOB company that approaches us and says, we'd like to give you a price on the concrete, we're going to look at subbing the concrete out. So basically everything in every job is fair game. Next slide, please. So I'm sure a lot of you in this room have attended one of our virtual events. We probably hold about somewhere between 6 and 10 of them every year. I always like to talk about NAICS codes. And I always like to stress that your NAICS codes always have to match the scope of work that you are quoting on to us. If your NAICS code doesn't match, then we're not allowed to claim credit for you. So we might pass you up for another MWBE, SDVOB that has the right NAICS codes. Next slide, please. Okay, contact information. So we have a general procurement@Halmar International email, which everybody that's on this list here gets. Zenalia is our supplier diversity liaison. She's usually the first point of contact. My 3 procurement managers, Nick Turano, Kathy Donahue, Eric Wood. Kathy is currently assigned to the Penn Access job. Nick is doing the 13 station ADA, and Eric is Park Avenue Viaduct. We're very big on personal interaction. We do a lot of one-on-one meetings. Everyone here, I encourage you to contact either Zenalia or Victoria. Try to set up a one-on-one meeting. I can't promise I'll be available for it. I will try. You know, we believe in these programs. We work very hard. We meet our goals on virtually every project. We actually try to exceed our goals and normally do. So if we could go to the next slide, please. And that's what I'll end with. Halmar always ready to face new challenges.
Thank you, everyone. Did y'all see how many opportunities they have? I took a picture of those opportunities. There's a lot of opportunities out there. Okay, next we will be having from Judlow Contracting, Mr. Uday Durg.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks for coming and helping this process that we put together. My name is Uday Durg. I'm the Executive Vice President for Corporate Development. I think Ocean Infrastructure is a national company. We do almost $1.5 billion worth of work nationally. Next slide, please. This is one of the slides I have shown here is the work that was done by DBE firm, Integrated Structure, who installed the entire bridge for us at Elmont Station, which was done ahead of schedule. I mean, this is very proud of the work that was done by the DBE firm. Next slide. In terms of a commitment, OHL has awarded over $100 million worth of MWBE and SDVOB last year. We do a lot of work in the New York metro area. We work all our regions. Subsidiaries are committed to creating a robust list that we have at our office at Ulmer. We also have a compliance department. I think it's run by 3 able persons here who are going to be represented here. Sonia, who's right here. Ricardo from our estimate department, and Nigel, who is our compliance officer. They run the entire program here for us. Out of the 8 projects that we have now, we have about 58 MWBE, DBS, DBE subcontractors and vendors participating. In the recent awards, we have 2 recent awards that was awarded to us last year. I think we have the 5 station, the Flushing line, and we're also awarded the Burrell station. I think these are 2 major stations that are going to come up in the next year. I think these are design build contracts. We also have a procurement in process right now about the substation renewal at 13th Street substation renewal project. Just to go to the next slide, please. Just to give an example of the amount of DBE contracts we awarded last year, $72 million worth of DBE, MWBE, and SDVOB was awarded on the Throgstick contract. On the 8 stations accessibility contract, we awarded over $31 million to a DBE firm. At Worcester Station, 19 DBEs were awarded for a $40 million contract. So we do these things on a regular basis. We have a very good team that puts these contracts together for us. Just go to the next slide, please. Just before I talk about this slide, I just want to mention that going forward, MTA is putting out these alternate project delivery methods. It's the design build. It's also called the progressive design build contracts that's coming up. You also have the P3s that I think just heard from Halmar that's talked about. So in these kind of contracts, it's very important for DBE firms to participate in the early process of putting the projects together, especially when it comes to design build and progressive design build and other delivery method the MT is looking for. I think it's very important to participate as soon as you see as soon as you see that we have been shortlisted for a project. It's important that you meet with our proposal people, our proposal manager, our bid managers, our estimators, so that we can work together collaboratively, so that you know it's not at the last moment you ask for a price. It's not like a design bid build where you know exactly what's happening. Here you need to anticipate what's going to happen in the future. So it takes a lot of effort. So it's important that you guys work with our proposal team while the proposal is being put together. So this way it gives you an advantage, allows you to define your risk profile as to what the project looks like. So that's an advantage that we would like for you to participate. We want to partner with you. We have many opportunities going forward. I think, as you heard from Michael and everybody else, I think there's a robust MTA program that's going to come up in the future. We invite you to visit our website. We also have our entire team here that is going to be here for the entire day. Please leave your cards with us so that we can put you on our register, and we will contact you, or more importantly, you contact us. You come and visit our facility so that we can see face-to-face, work on the projects that are coming up in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Uday. You heard it from him. Work as a team. At this time, we will be serving refreshments, and I would ask everyone to, while you are having refreshments, socialize, network, and try to get as much information from the firms as you can, okay? We will be back in about a half an hour? A half an hour.
Thank you, Gio. So we were serving lunch. So as she indicated, network. We're going to start back up at about 12:15, and Jamie Torres Springer, the president of C&D, is going to be here, starting us back up. Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Jeremy Rosario. I work for JTRAC, but today I'm representing the Ivino Enterprises. A little bit about JTRAC. We established in 2007. A lot of people know us for track work, obviously it's in the name, but that's not all we do. We're GC in our own right, performing a lot of challenging jobs for the MTA, design build jobs, elevators, escalators, stations, tunnels. I mean, we excel in the tunnel work, but you know, we do a little bit of everything. I'm the chief estimator at JTRAC. Ivino Enterprises is a family of companies, including JTRAC, TC Electric, who's here, and MLJ. Also have other sister company, Welkin. And together we think we can do anything basically. Next slide. We perform a lot of work for several different customers, not just the MTA, but also all the names you see here: TBTA, EDC, a little bit of Con Ed work, DDC. So here's a few of the jobs that JTRAC has performed successfully, including, you know, like they said, the track work, Archer Avenue, Canarsie, Rutgers is one of our main jobs, our key jobs, Rutgers Tunnel. During COVID, we went and did that job in record time, design build job, so it was designed, built in, you know, less than a year. Elevators, escalators, another job, one of our key jobs. We performed in a schedule that, frankly, nobody thought was possible. Even MTA kind of pushed back on us and said, hey, you know, really think you can do it this quickly? And we said, yeah, and we did. We accomplished the job quicker, actually, and got an award for that. Long Island Railroad third track, building track work, Flushing Main Street escalators, and the concourse line job, which right now we're working at currently. It's a major component repair job in the Bronx, working with our sister company TC. A lot of concrete work, concrete chopping, steel work, column repairs, leak mitigation. I mean, that job has a little bit of everything. Our sister company, TC Electric, also not just an electrician, they're also a GC in their own right. They perform, mostly known for their signal work, but they're not just limited to signal work. They do all types of electrical work. Some of their key jobs are basically every tunnel on under the East River. I mean, they did all the electrical work for those jobs, those Sandy repair jobs. They were involved in almost all of them. Key ones was Canarsie and Rutgers, obviously. Recent jobs, like I said, the elevator job, we were joint venture partners on that. So obviously they were instrumental in the success of that job. They're currently working on the 207th Street project, and most recently awarded the CBTC job. Very large CBTC project that I'll mention later. MLJ, again, another one of our sister company, the newest sister company, but not the least, certainly. They quickly made a huge impact with the MTA and other city agencies, doing major key jobs. You know, started off with the Chambers Street project, but then they quickly accelerated, did Times Square tunnel, Times Square station during COVID. Very challenging project, various redesigns, and they worked with the MTA to get all that done. Currently working on finishing up the Brooklyn Bridge and the World Trade Center Police Command Center. We were fortunate enough to be fairly successful last year with jobs with the MTA, so we have a lot of opportunities for minority, women-owned, and SDVOB and DBE companies. It's a summary of a lot of the jobs we have here. Starting from the top, we got the Mudna Viaduct. That's a track job. It's a JTRAC project. That's up in Salisbury, New York, so it's a little out of the way, but if, you know, it's mostly track, but we got some MPT work involved there. There's going to be some protection work underneath the structure. It's basically we're replacing timber ties on the structures about 200 feet up in the air, but there's other work involved in that. The next job is the 6 escalator jobs in Manhattan and Queens. That job is basically the replacement of escalators, but there's also, with the escalator comes a lot of other adjacent work, repairing concrete and miscellaneous steel throughout the vicinity of the escalators. Within the escalator rooms, we have some rehab work, some painting work, a little bit of everything. Second negative return rail, again, another job in the Bronx. There will be replacing some track work in the Dyer Avenue line, but there's mostly electrical. There's going to be a lot of significant amount of excavation work involved there. We got a hand dig along the right of way. So if you perform any type of excavation work, civil work type of work, there's new duct banks being poured. If you do anything like that, definitely be interested in hearing from you. The 8th Avenue line, that's a design-build project, and it's just really starting now. I mean, we've had the job for about a year now, but the design, it's been in design process for that time, and now we're really starting to get geared up. It's very similar to the concourse line I mentioned before, where this component line structure, so it's concrete patching, crack repair, spalls repairs, steel repairs. There's a significant amount of deterioration with the duct banks that we're seeing there. So there's a lot of different type of work, mostly in obviously all in the right of way under GO conditions, but still we need people that can do that type of work. Then we can go on to the package 4. I mean, that job has basically everything. Package 4 is one of the ADA upgrade projects that the MTA has been spearheading. We have every type of finish, architectural finish, excavation, utility work, concrete work, glass work, miscellaneous steel. I mean, everything that you see in a station, we're going to be touching. So if you have any experience working in an MTA station, we'll probably need some of your expertise on that job for sure. Then we've got the hall interlocking expansion. That's a joint venture with our sister company, MLJ. And that's predominantly a bridge job, but there's also, excavation work associated with that, retaining wall work, heavy civil construction work along, in the Jamaica interlocking there. So if you have any experience working within an interlocking, working with Long Island Railroad, working along the right-of-way, excavation work, retaining walls, heavy civil work, that's definitely the job for you. Rail car acceptance, that is, call it a trifecta. That's with JTRAC, MLJ, and TC. But that job is building a new building for the MTA to inspect their new rail cars. And that's in Brooklyn, and that job has, again, another job with a little bit of everything. There's going to be some site work, there's going to be some steel work, there's going to be some finish work within the building, masonry work, roofing, again, a little bit of everything. And then the last but not least is the CBTC for the Crosstown. That's a TC Electric project. That job is $400 million project. And another job where they're going to be going into rooms and reconfiguring rooms and removing rooms, adding rooms, and so there's going to be a lot of architectural work involved within the station. There's also electrical work. Just because TC Electric is an electrician doesn't mean they necessarily want to do all the electrical work on the job. If you have an expertise in communications or expertise in power or lighting, whatever that may be, reach out to them. They'll definitely be open to discussing that portion of the work with you. There's no reason why they have to do every cable in the job. And so that's, these are a summary of some of the services we need for these jobs. HVAC, fire suppression, plumbing, roofing, utility work, concrete work. Any type of safety quality consultant, if you perform that type of consulting work, your expertise is really needed right now. Scheduling is also one area that we're finding short-staffed across the industry, really. So if you do that type of work, definitely reach out to us. You can reach out to myself. I'll be at the booth in the corner there. You can contact me, contact Lauren, Rich, Chris Dawson, who are here, presidents of MLJ and TC Electric. You know, and give us a call, and we'll if it's not this job, it's the next job. It's, you know, it's important just to be part of our database so that we know to reach you in the future. Even if this job may not be the best fit, maybe the next job will be a better fit, and you know, we'll try to make it work. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremy. Like the Reverend said, come make that money. All right, next up is from Skanska USA Civil Northeast, Inc., is Sean Glenn.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Sean Glenn. I'm the VP of Estimating for Skanska USA Civil Northeast. Next slide, please. Okay, so a little bit about Skanska USA Civil Northeast. We're a subsidiary of Skanska USA and Skanska USA Civil. We primarily work here in the New York region, as well as up in the Boston area and down to DC and over to Pittsburgh. So our core markets are transportation, transit, roadway, tunnel, and bridge jobs. We also do work for the New York City DEP for water and wastewater, and we have the capability of doing a lot of our own mechanical works as well. One of the things we like to say at Skanska is we build for a better society. Next slide, please. So we picked up a lot of work this year, and we're going to start going through those projects in a minute. But it's important to be connected, right? So we talk about how do we connect to each other, and how do we make all that money that we want to make working together. So we reach out in many ways. Listed here are some of the advertisements and some of the publications that we would use for the individual projects. We also go to industry events, similar to industry events like this. For every one of our packages that we purchase and procure, we do targeted solicitations via fax and email. And the most important one there is the one-on-one meetings with our estimating staff. So one thing I want to note is that at Skanska USA Civil Northeast, we procure our projects with our estimating staff. So the people that you're talking to during the procurement stage are the people that will be buying out the project. Those are the people that will be awarding the contracts. So it's important that we have your information from the very beginning of the project, which is usually during the bidding stages, all the way to where the project is procured and then ultimately completed by our project teams. So our one-on-one meetings we like to have at our office now that we don't have any COVID restrictions. So we're located in Queens. Anyone ever hear of the iconic Boulevard Corporate Center? Very nice facility we have there in Queens. We have a lot of offices and meeting rooms that we have dedicated. The other thing we do is we use Building Connected. How many people here have used Building Connected to distribute their plans and software and get information on projects? So we find that Building Connected is kind of like a social network, but it's very important that the subcontractors and vendors keep their information updated and most current, because when we're sending out the information, sometimes we get bounce backs, sometimes you have the wrong contact information or the wrong email. And it's important for us that we're trying to contact you through Building Connected, that your information is there and you can respond if you're looking at the project or not looking at the project. And then we have a second tier of contact after our first tier of outreach, where you'll actually talk to the people that are working on that particular element of work. So if you want to look at work for concrete or rebar or anything like that in our organization, Frank Lully is our gentleman that we consider our expert for concrete. So after reaching through a Building Connected, you might talk with Julia, our outreach coordinator, and then it'll be handed off to Frank, and that's the person who actually will be going through all the concrete elements for either rebar, concrete, formwork, and so on and so forth. So it's important that information is updated. We also look for lower tier participation requirements on all of our non-MW and DBE subcontracts. So for example, if we have a $100 million electrical package, we flow down equal to or greater than the requirements of the prime contract for all the participation of the MWBE and/or SDVOB to those what I would call prime contractors on the electrical market. We also look for that in our plumbing and our fire protection. They tend to get more of the participation in materials, which we find is very important as well. And you'll see the name again, Julia Omanoff. She's, again, our coordinator for the outreach, and we'll have her information again at the end. So it's important that your information is correct, and we'll make sure that we reach out to you on the projects. So this year with the MTA, next slide, please. We were fortunate enough to pick up some work, and I'm going to kind of walk through each one of the projects and where they are in the process right now. So the first project that we were awarded in mid to late August was the 17 escalator project. So it's a design-build project to replace 17 escalators at various stations throughout New York City. So we hit 4 of the boroughs. So this has a 15, 15, and 6 requirement. Again, as Jeremy said, these projects tend to be pretty isolated at the station, so that at each one of these stations we have a phased construction. Some stations, such as Smith and Ninth, have a 4-phase program where they're replacing 1 escalator at a time throughout the whole process to make sure egress and access is maintained. So you can see a lot of the items that we have are subcontracting opportunities have already gone out to MW and SDVOB firms. What we've done is we've highlighted the areas for this particular job where we're still looking for participation. So, for example, some items such as the plumbing, the HVAC, and the sprinklers, we're still waiting for our design. Our first set of design packages from our designer, Parsons Transportation Group, is forthcoming, and we'll be procuring those elements. There's also some architectural elements that are still out there. Once we complete our surveys of the different areas and the rooms, there's masonry, there's metal panels, architectural metal panels, and artwork modifications as well. So any of these items, if you're interested, will be at our table in the back here, and we'll be able to walk through those elements with you on those projects, and then we'll have you take a look at the bid packages once we receive them. Okay, next slide, please. All right, so this is the next project that we're awarded again sometime in August. This was the September, the Flushing line improvements. This again is a design-build job. So this is right in the heart of Queens. So it's right on the 7 line. Two major stations here are getting a rehabilitation as well as a rehab of painting now that we're going to have some track closures on the top half of the girder system. So this project is very unique. It's a major rehabilitation project. A lot of structural steel. A lot of resequencing of the work elements for the flow of the passengers, which is what ultimately the MTA wants to make sure is that their traveling public can gain access to everything. So we do have a series of closures already scheduled. So we'll close the center track first, and then we'll be closing what they call the C1 and then the C2 track following that. So you can see design is underway. We're pushing hard on getting the structural components done first so that we can procure items such as the structural steel fabrication and the miscellaneous metals. There's also some other elements out there that we're looking at where we have the HVAC, plumbing, and fire protection. Those elements will come a little bit later as we start rehabilitating the mezzanine. And again, that'll be all sequenced to make sure we gain access for not just the MTA, New York City Transit, but also maintaining access for Long Island Railroad. Next slide, please. So the 28th Street substation project is a bid build best value project located in Manhattan. This is tied into a whole series of substations that are being put forward by the MTA to increase the power to the ACE line, as eventually when they put in the computer-based train control, there will be additional trains running on this line. More trains, need for more power as well. So this has a 15, 15, and 6 participation goal for the project. Again, this project was a bid build job, so right out of the gate, we had to come up with our plan, and we submitted our plan, and it was accepted by the MTA. We do have other elements of work, as you can see up here on the subcontracting opportunities, such as the doors, the line striping, supportive excavation. We're still working through our steel design. Right now, we're looking at a secant supportive excavation with struts and wales. There's anyone with any experience with vacuum trucks and other miscellaneous architectural items Again, these substations don't have a lot of architectural. There is a bathroom in there, so if anyone wants to do tile work in a bathroom, you know, if you can do the whole thing as a package, that would probably be the best way for us to look at it. All right, the next slide, please. All right, so in December, we were able to come to conclusion, and we got the award for the Grand Central improvements. So this is a circulation improvement project at 42nd Street in Manhattan. Very challenging project for access as well as for, again, maintaining the traveling public. So this project here is to improve the circulation as you come in on the 7 train. They're creating a new staircase as well as a, we're developing the cavern. It'll be a walkway that you'll gain additional access to the 4-5 platform. So instead of queuing up on the 7 line, you'll be able to get up onto the mezzanine and then up onto the 4-5 as you transition from Queens into Manhattan. So as part of this project, it's design build, and our designer SDV is working on getting the packages together. So you can see on this list here, we have a tremendous amount of opportunities for subcontracting. The design is in its infancy. We expect to see the 30% and 60% packages out in the first quarter. And then we'll be putting those packages out to bid. A couple areas we're very interested in getting some additional participation is the waterproofing. This has a unique tunnel waterproofing system on it. So if any of you are looking at any waterproofing products or looking to get certified, this is an opportunity for not just this job, but from other projects that are coming up that the MTA is going to be putting forward for their tunnel waterproofing programs, as well as plumbing and fire protection. We're looking to see if we can get additional people in those areas for participation on these types of projects. All right, and the next slide, please. The Jamaica Bus Depot. So on the last business day, on the last hour of the year last year, there was an email that popped up at, I think it was 3 o'clock, that the MTA had awarded Skanska the Jamaica Bus Depot. This is a fantastic project. We're very excited about it. It's right in the heart of Queens, right in Jamaica. Very close to our office, and it's something that we do on a regular basis. But mainly with trains, we have a very successful track record with doing train facilities with the MTA. This is really our first endeavor onto the bus depot side. Our designer is STV again, and again they're working through the design elements for this. We expect documents probably second quarter on this particular project that we're going to be putting out to bid. But there is a package that we're going to put out very soon to facilitate the sequencing of the construction of the bus depot. So in order for us to build a new facility, we're building it in essentially the parking lot where they queue up all the buses. So the MTA has procured some property in Queens on a long-term lease. We're going to convert that property into essentially a parking facility for those buses, while we then go back and then construct the new facility while the existing facility is maintained. Once it's accepted by the MTA, we'll then demolish the existing facility and restore the property, both at the York College property as well as where the existing bus depot was. So this is typically like what you see on any type of building structure. So you're going to have a lot of architectural components, a lot of mechanical, a lot of electrical, and again, we have a prime electrical subcontractor on board. As this was design build, we really needed their expertise to come up with a solid plan during the execution of the bid. And we really look to those larger, what I call prime subcontractors, to get second-tier participation. So we're looking for outreach for that as well. So if you're looking to work on a project like this, we'll be sure to pass that name on to anybody that's interested, and it's very important to reach out to us. And we have a little bit of influence on them, so make sure that you talk to us as well as talking to that subcontractor. This project will be LEED certified. Again, it has a very complicated sequencing just because of the spaces that are there. And we're looking forward to working with the MTA on this project. Next slide, please. All right, so in conclusion, I just want to thank everybody here for listening, and I want to thank the MTA for inviting Skanska to participate in this outreach event.
At this time, do anyone have any questions for Mr. Sean? Anyone?
Who has the first question? That's what they taught me at Dale Carnegie.
Anyone?
Thank you. Any other questions? One in the back there? Yeah, so, I'm sorry. So your question was opportunities for the Jamaica Bus Depot? Engineering. So if you're interested in that, we can take your name and information, and we can talk to our prime designer, which is STV. They have put a plan together, but I'm sure there's additional opportunities. If not on this project, there are several more projects that the MTA has put forward through the SOQ process that we can make sure that you join one of those teams, if not on the Jamaica Bus Depot project. Temporary engineering, we can talk about that. We do direct hire for temporary engineering, especially for the demolition. That's an important part of the process, especially with DOB involvement and stuff like that. Another question over here?
Can you share a little more detail with regards to your HVAC needs?
Sure. So we typically look at let's take the Jamaica Bus Depot for example, right? So that's essentially a building. It's got a full HVAC, so it's got a wet side, it's got an air side, it's got the BMS, or it's the building information system. So that's all integrated. So when we try to look at that, we try to break that up into a series of packages that instead of one large contract that goes out, we'll try to subcontract out to someone who really does the duct work. And as part of that package, the duct work, the installation, and the testing and balancing that goes with that. And then we'll look at another package that's really the wet side for the HVAC system. And then sometimes, depending on the size of the project and how we're integrating everything, the BMS system might be part of an electrical package, or we'll put that out as a separate package. But we're looking to look at that not as one complete package. We think our best success we've done on some of our other projects and some of our other maintenance facilities is breaking it up into those three packages. It allows for, I guess, more competition, as well as some firms are better at the ductwork. Some firms are better at the wet side. Some firms are better at the BMS. So instead of trying to package it all together, we break it up so that there's more opportunities within that typical HVAC package. Does that answer your question? Okay.
So I have two questions.
Yes, sir. Uh-oh, I'm on the spot now.
So the first question, are there any opportunities on your non-core services, mainly information technology?
So we do have set up for both the engineer's office as well as our office. So that would be something that we could talk about. Right, so that's something that typically we will subcontract out. The MTA typically has a robust office requirement with setup of everything there. So we look to buy that out again as part of a package with a long-term maintenance that goes with it. So that would go with if there's any IT questions or anything that needs to be done for maintenance on that particular package, that would be part of that program as well.
And second, I was actually on behalf of him, but he's engaged. So I asked about information technology services, so you may want to follow up.
Okay.
All right. Second, we built a design-build bus depot in Harlem, and I can tell you, I would be out in one of my favorite watering holes. People would come up to me asking me for job opportunities and what have you. With your bus depot, is there going to be a need for an outside consultant to engage the local community, meetings, given presentations on the bus depot? Because that Southeast Queens, they're very in tune to major projects like that.
Yes, and that's something that we can do. I think that shares with the success of the project when you have an outreach program like that and where you have the support from the MTA. We think that those programs go very well and they go a long way to being inclusive with the community. Especially, we're going to have a lot of changes there. They're going to demap a road. There's a couple things that are going to happen that are underway, but again, it's going to also change the way the buses come in and out of the facility. So it would be good to have somebody on board for that as well.
So Ms. White.
Okay, I'll be over there at our table at the end of the presentation. All right, are there any other questions? Okay. Yes, that's a great question. So how do we level the bids, especially when it comes to MW, SDVOB firms, and I guess some of the setbacks that you're saying, some of it might be capital, some of it might be other issues with regarding to craft workers and stuff like that. So what it comes down to, we talked about at the very beginning, is money, right? So it comes down to price. So we go through, we level it, and we pick the best value, right? It's like the MTA does. They have a best value program. We have a best value. So it's not always the low bidder that gets the job for us. So we evaluate, again, we have certain goals on the project, and we evaluate where we are on those goals and what your experience is, and if it's not something that we can give you that project, can we break that particular package up into smaller pieces? We can be competitive on a smaller component. Say on a job like Jamaica, it's a $500 million job. You want to be able to break that into smaller components where you feel comfortable taking on that type of work. So it's not a clear cut and dry answer of exactly what we do, but we do evaluate it as a whole. It's not necessarily always the low bidder that gets the work. Okay, so I've just a little experience. I'm over 25 years with Skanska. Started out with Slattery. I've been in the estimating department for a very long time. I've estimated a lot of work, and I will tell you, since we do the procurement in our office, I will tell you, I sign off on every one of our procurement sheets that we have as the vice president of estimating. Not always a low bidder gets the job, and I can tell you that from experience. So. We always have project scheduling needs, yes. MTA jobs as well as other jobs outside of the MTA, but they're always scheduling needs that we have for projects. I was told it was just a presentation, so I was not fully prepared for this, so. I'm good. Am I good?
Thank you, Mr. Sean.
So, you know, there are contractors who always meet their goals, and then there are contractors who always tell you why they can't reach their goals. But I'll tell you, Skanska is one of those contractors who always reach their goals. So if they tell you it's black, it's black. If they tell you it's black, it's black. And so we had a very great story on Croton Harmon, where when they were identified as the lowest responsible bidder, and we had a major outreach session up in Westchester County. And that project is right on target, one of the largest design-build jobs. They are right on target on their 30% MWBE goal requirements. So if Skanska tells you that it's black, it's black. So we talk about construction. We talked about the big day here at the MTA. We talk about the MTA as being one of the largest transportation network in North America, but also one of the largest builders in the world. And our third-party contractors, who are our value partners, we've solved the equation of building our projects safely, timely, and on budget, and inclusive of our MWBE goals, led by Chairman Liebert. We solved that problem. So when you talk about C&D, capital and construction, you're talking about a major builder. And we are so fortunate to have the president, Jamie Torres Springer, here, who is a rising superstar in the construction industry. And I don't use that word too often, but I tell you, there was one transportation superstar that we had here, and his name was Jay Walder. And Jay Walder was the chairman, one of the 9 CEOs who I worked for during my 14-year tenure here. And he was responsible for the countdown clocks, express bus lanes, and Jay wanted things done like yesterday. And he told me something. He said that people who are mired in failure, they want you to give them a passing grade on their efforts and not results. Get that? People who are always mired in failure, they want you to give them a passing grade on their efforts but not their results. And so my partnership with the president of C&D, the partnership in a very short period of time, he has executed a project labor agreement that we talked about earlier that he will speak about, which is $5 million. So if you're a MWBE SDVOB firm, you can work on this Park Avenue Viaduct, not having an affiliation, up to $5 million. The standard used to be $2 million. We doubled that plus some more under his leadership. We also implemented one of the first organizations in this country to implement President Biden's local hiring preference program pilot. And that language is now included in some of our projects under his leadership. I think he's been here for a year and change. And so I want to introduce to you my effective partner in this great organization that we call the MTA, a $1 trillion organization. Jamie Torres Springer, President.
It's always so hard to follow Mr. Garner at these events because he says everything that needs to be said, and he says it in a much more articulate way than I ever could, and so I probably can tear up most of these remarks here. But Michael's, as he says, he and I have a great partnership between the Department of Diversity and Civil Rights here at the MTA and the construction agency. It is a partnership that I value, perhaps most out of all the partnerships that we have at the MTA. This is a big organization, and as you all know, if people aren't focused on these issues of equity and diversity and making sure that we create wealth and generational wealth by providing opportunities, then it doesn't get done. And so Michael is the one who, he mentioned a couple things that we've taken care of in the last year, but only really because Michael's been pushing us. So it's a pleasure to be here. I'm really glad that this event is happening. Particularly, I'm glad for all of the MWBE contractors, representatives that are sitting here. I'm also really happy that we see the turnout by our prime contractors working on some of our biggest projects that were awarded last year. That's really important. We made sure in no uncertain terms that everybody would be here, and I'm glad that everybody showed up because that's really what the value of this day is. I want to apologize that I wasn't here this morning, but as most of you know, since you probably pay attention to the transportation industry, we took the first train, Grand Central Direct train, with the governor and Chair Lieber into Grand Central Madison. We left Jamaica at 10:45 a.m. We arrived at the first train at 11:07 a.m. On the platform there. That's an amazing project. There's lots we can see. Yes, it's great. It's huge. Yeah. Look, it's in many ways not the best example of how to build a project, and we would never build a project that way again. But it got done, and the benefits are going to be extraordinary. 41% increase in service to Long Island into Midtown. And roughly a 40-minute savings for the average commuter, because we have, everybody knows this, roughly 50% of people who came into Penn Station up to yesterday were headed to points east of Penn Station. And so now we're really reducing their commute and providing them better service. And it took too long and cost too much. It's an MWBE success story, $658 million worth of MWBE subcontracting on that project. So that's a big deal. We're moving forward with our program, and it is a tremendous goal of our program to make sure that we have diversity in contracting and subcontracting. We awarded $11.5 billion of contracts last year. That is a record. I think that in some ways, I think that's a global record, excepting maybe some mega projects, single entity mega projects in the world. And that's $5.5 billion of third-party contracts, of which the goals for MWBE, SDVOB, subcontracting is $1.6 billion. So that's why these folks are here at the tables around the room, because we got to get $1.6 billion or more worth of subcontracting arranged on those projects. Many categories, as you know: communications, construction, engineering, design support, escalator, elevator, mechanical, HVAC, masonry, painting, plumbing, steel fabrication, structural steel. all of those opportunities are there, and I hope you are aggressively taking advantage of them. As Michael said, there's probably three other things I want to mention that are important in the way that we're moving forward with the program. The first is, again, really a tribute to Michael, who's really built this here and elsewhere, is our mentoring program. We want to expand that mentoring program. We want to expand the threshold, the sort of largest allowable contract in that. We're working on that so that you can take on, mentor participants can take on larger jobs. And we just want to expand the pool of your firms that are participating. So I really hope everybody is having a good hard look at that. We're looking at ways to improve mobilization payments, provide more financing. We've centralized the management of that so that it's easier to participate. So please, if you're not participating in the mentoring program and that's your sweet spot right now, please take a hard look at it. We are embarking on local hiring. That was really unlocked for us by the federal government, by President Biden, as Michael said. We've now piloted it on 3 projects in 2022, Jamaica Bus Depot, actually 2 so far, Jamaica Bus Depot and the Rockaways, where we have a local hiring goal of 20% of New York State labor force coming out of the communities in which the project is based. And for us, and I really want, you are all contractors and construction managers and others, I want to emphasize, this is not just about entry-level administrative jobs, although those are important too. We are actively working with the building construction trades and others to identify pre-apprenticeship slots so that folks that are hired into those local hiring opportunities have a pathway to apprenticeship. And then ensuring that we actually have apprenticeships that come out on our projects. That's a huge emphasis for us as we seek to achieve those local hiring goals. We did negotiate a project labor agreement. That's a big deal for us. It's a cost savings, particularly on the opportunity to introduce managed care in the workers' compensation program. Some work rule benefits that we were able to come to agreement on with the building and construction trades as well. But we wouldn't have done it if we couldn't ensure there was a carve-out so that MWBEs can participate. And as Michael said, that carve-out is more than double has ever been achieved before. It's up to $5 million. Of course, over the $5 million, there's the so-called drag-along clause where firms can bring their own employees sort of one for one. So there's lots of opportunities for MWBE participation. And while we're piloting that in Park Avenue Viaduct, we are actively exploring that for larger projects, including potentially the phase 2 of the 2nd Avenue subway. So there's a lot going on for us in this space. We're deeply committed to achieving these goals in partnership with Michael and his team. And I'm really glad that you're all here and hope you take advantage of the opportunities that are presented. Thank you for being here.
See, who is Jamie Springer kidding? I'm the opening act. He's the show closer. So we have one more presentation left, and then we have networking. And Mitch, we're counting on you guys. And I just want to take another opportunity out to just thank our third-party contractors because they are our effective partner. We would have never been able to shatter MWBE records if it had not been for our third-party contractors and consultants. So thank you in helping us drive equity throughout the most diverse region in the country. Gio is going to introduce our next speaker. I'm going to close it out, and there's going to be networking.
Miss Gabrielle, we're going to save the best for last.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, and Ms. Gabrielle's coming from Schiavone Construction Company, LLC.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. I want to say thank you to the MTA for inviting us today. My name is Gabrielle Rivers. I'm the Corporate Diversity Manager for Dragados USA, and I am speaking on behalf of their affiliate, Schiavone Construction. Next slide. Thank you. So Schiavone has been in business in the New York, New Jersey market for over 60 years. Recently, we have finished a couple MTA jobs, East Side Access being one of them, Myrtle Avenue with New York City Transit, 55th Street, 86th Street, and 2nd Avenue subway. Next slide. That's some diversity practices. So we commit to support our certified firms. Each procurement that we go after, we reach out to certified firms with the applicable directory that's required. We vet firms, we go out to your businesses, we make sure you're performing a commercially useful function that is appropriate for the scope of work that you are performing. And we reach out. We have outreach events on a quarterly basis at minimum and applicable to each project. Next slide. So our current opportunities, first one, New Jersey Transit. So it's in New Jersey. It's a turnpike rehab job. But the newest award that we just recently got was the Rockaway Line Resiliency Project. It's with the MTA. It has a 22.5% DBE goal. And currently we are looking for masonry, concrete repairs, steel precast erection, bridge drainage, painting, spall repairs, bridge machinery, maintenance of traffic, tug services, debris shield, steel erection, trucking disposal, janitorial services, office supplies, IT. We are looking for a lot that I haven't listed, but those are just some off the top of my head that are required. If you are looking to bid with us, there's bids at Schiavone.net. Also, another name in our organization is Rod Rodolfo. He's our purchasing manager. He couldn't make it today. He had an emergency. Next slide. And here are other scopes of work on other projects that we normally look for. I'm not going to read each one for you, but as you can see, there is a lot of different opportunities out there. And we do break out the packages into smaller packages to make it much easier for MWDBEs to bid on. And I think that's all. Next slide, I think. That's it. Thank you so much.
Any questions and answers? Any questions?
Yes.
The last tunnel project, going back 10, 12 years ago, Schiavone was awarded Hart Tunnel. Are you guys considering rebidding the job for this time around?
I believe it's on our potential opportunities.
It is?
I believe so.
How was your fine electrical sound?
Awesome. Let's connect my tables over there. Thank you. Yes?
When you say IT services, specifically what type of?
So usually furnish and install of the different, whether it be computers, printers that are required for the resident engineer as well as our own employees. As well, we sometimes need, on-site emergency services. That's it. I got away easy.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Gabriella. Now we'll come into the podium, Ms. McDalia, Director of Business and Diversity Initiatives.
Everybody was asking, where's the mics? And they're all sitting here. Well, we just wanted to say thank you very much, everyone, for attending. I think this was a very informative and successful event. Thank you, speakers. Thank you, firms, for coming today. Right now, we just want everyone to we're going to open the exhibition floor, so feel free to speak to everyone if you haven't. And enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming.